We're with Annie Machon, whistleblower, XMI5, and you've been gracious enough to grant We Are Change San Francisco an interview, and we thank you for that. Can you please tell us where in your life you are right now? With everything that's happened to you, what's your newfound philosophy?
Well, first of all, let's say it's a real pleasure to meet We Are Change San Francisco. I've done a lot of work with the We Are Change group in London, and it's an amazing sort of activist group, street actions and things like that. I think it's a really good thing to see young activists getting involved like that and getting really switched on. So that's fab. So hello. Where am I now? Well, it's been a bit of a sort of roller coaster personal journey throughout my adult life, because I started working in MI5 in the early 1990s as an intelligence officer, and then saw so much incompetence and crime and corruption that I left with my ex-partner and ex-colleague David Shaler, and we blew the whistle on the intelligence community in the UK, which is MI5 and MI6. They're a sort of external group like the CIA. And for that we had to go on the run around Europe and live in exile for 3 years, face arrest and imprisonment. And in fact, David Shaler was put in prison twice. Once when they tried to extradite him from France in 1998 and failed. He served almost 4 months in prison then. And then when he went back voluntarily in 2000 to stand trial under the Official Secrets Act, he was convicted and then put in prison again. So he's done about 6 months in total in prison for exposing criminality on the part of MI6. And when I say crime, I mean serious crime. We had MI6 sponsoring a sort of Islamic extremist cell in Libya to try and assassinate the head of that state, Colonel Gaddafi. And they did it outside the purview of English law, and innocent people died, bystanders and things. So we couldn't think of a more heinous crime, but David was the one put in prison for reporting that, and the spies who commissioned murder got away with it because there's no accountability or real oversight in the UK. So we went through all that, and because of that, obviously, I'd always had quite a strong ethical framework. That's part of the reason why I'd ended up working for MI5, strangely enough, because they said they had to obey the law and they were there to stop terrorists, and it sounded like a good thing. I could do something worthwhile. And then after that, I suppose the experiences of whistleblowing and things switched me on massively to further corruptions and also the need for the basic degree of civilization, which is looking at human rights, guaranteeing basic human rights for every human on this planet. Let's bear in mind the Universal Declaration of Human Rights came into force after the Second World War to stop atrocities like that again, and they're just as true now as they were then. So I've become very involved in a lot of campaigning. I did quite a lot of work for the peace movement in the UK around the Iraq War, and then I was approached by some of the 9/11 truth activists in the UK and given a copy of the New Pearl Harbor, David Roy Griffin's seminal work about the subject of 9/11. And just started reading that. It took me about a day to devour it, and just thought, yeah, this is it. I mean, I helped blow the whistle on false flag terrorism, and here appears to be another example of it. There's a lot of evidence, at least, that directly contradicts the official account. So for the last few years, I've been doing a lot of campaigning around the need for a new inquiry into 9/11. So that's where I am at the moment.
Okay, and do you still feel fear for your life?
No. I mean, you can't live your life afraid that someone's going to try and bump you off. I mean, during the whistleblowing years, it wasn't just fearing for our lives. I mean, we felt we had no privacy, our flat was bugged, our phones were bugged, friends were turned against us to report back to the spies about us. But yes, we were initially frightened, knowing what we knew, that they might try and shut us up permanently. And there were a number of episodes with car accidents that baffled experts. They didn't understand what had happened, where we almost died. But no, I mean, you can't live life afraid. You've just got to be true to yourself and go out and do what you think is important and live every day.
Was there a spiritual element to this that made you stop fearing the government or whoever was after you? Or?
No, I think it's just, you go through stressful times and you survive and you learn new things about yourself, and you just sort of take every day as it comes, really. I'm not particularly spiritual at all, no.
Would you say you're a truther now? Would you, I know labels are just labels, but...
I think, anyone who's ever seen any of my interviews on the internet would say I'm a truther now, so yes, there's no doubt about that. I know it's used as a pejorative term in the media, but I think we should be damn proud of it. The word truther, that means we stand up for the truth. We should be out and proud about that.
What do you think of the ClimateGate, the emails that were leaked or hacked from the East Anglia?
I don't know what to think about that one, really. I mean, fingers were pointed that it was the Russian hackers, and then it was Chinese hackers trying to make it look like it was Russian hackers, and who knows. I think the timing was interesting, though, because it did sort of shift the goalposts in terms of the debate in Copenhagen.
Do you think there was a real threat, a valid threat for world government from the Copenhagen conference?
I don't know if that would have been the trigger, but yes, I think there is a general move towards some sort of globalised governance over us. Certainly, when did Gordon Brown become our ex-Prime Minister? Just been voted out. He became leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister, I think, in 2007, 8, I can't remember now. And for a while it looked like there might be a challenge to his leadership. So suddenly he was all over our UK media like a bad rash for the period of a month, saying New World Order this and New World Order that and globalisation and new financial order. And suddenly the challenges went away, so he just ascended to the Labour throne, effectively. So I think there's certainly a will to that sort of power, and we see it in the sort of undemocratic, unaccountable groupings like the Bilderberg Group and the Trilateral Commission, Council for Foreign Relations, where you have this sort of supranational, unaccountable secret meetings of people in key positions, politicians, heads of big business, media, intelligence, military. And they have discussions and they come to decisions behind closed doors, and our governments and our democratically elected representatives are not allowed to know what's been decided. And these decisions will have impacts on millions of lives. So I suppose we're almost there in a de facto sense, but I suppose they do want to move to make it formal.
One last question. As far as global governance, what are your overall thoughts on that? Would you say it's a good thing if it was voluntary, or if it wasn't people like the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds at the helm?
Theoretically, I think democracy is probably the best system that we've evolved so far. Who knows what might evolve from that and improve on that? We don't know. So yes, theoretically, some real, accountable and transparent and meaningful democracy where every citizen of the world had a say over how the place is run. We can but dream. I'm with John Lennon on that one, let's imagine. But practically, of course, all power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it could be a very dangerous path to go down.
Understand. Do you have any books coming out, or DVDs, or do you have a website?
I have a website, yes. It's just www.anniemachon.com. And I have a book out which is called Spies, Lies and Whistleblowers. Came out 5 years ago after being blocked by the government. But I believe that's out of print now. So I need to update it and rework it and sit down also and write the story of the story, what it was like to go on the run and live in exile and things. It sounds a bit dark, but I think it'd be quite a funny book, actually. So I need to get on and do that as well. But I just suggest people have a look at my website, and they'll see new stuff going up.
Do you have any heroes in the movement of truth or liberty, or whatever you want to call the...
What, alive or dead? I would say, one of the inspirations, the true inspiration, surely has to be Tom Paine. Who's instrumental in the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and formulating the Bill of Rights, the sort of constitutions that both countries have, which is way better than anything we've got in the UK. And Tom Paine started off as a customs officer in the 18th century and had to flee the UK because of his political views. So he fled to France as well. It's a noble tradition. But within the truth movement itself, I've met so many amazing people over the years. It does give me hope for humanity. But, what can I say? Professor David Ray Griffin has got to be a hero. He's up there. The work he's done and the clarity of thought he's brought to these sort of arguments, and the gravitas and calmness with which he argues the case. I think we should all try and emulate him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks for all your work.
Thank you.
Annie, do we win or do the globalists win? Who wins, humanity, or do they wind up really subjecting us to this 500 million people in the world? And
difficult to say, isn't it? I think the human spirit is incredibly resilient, and no matter what ghastly things happen, we always seem to bounce back eventually, don't we? So I have hope, but it might get a bit messy in the meantime.
And so many have tried before: Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Caesar, and they've all failed.
Stalin,
yeah,
Hitler, the whole lot, yeah.
And they've all failed.
There is a will to power.
Yes.
What do you think about Poland? 96 people died.
About Poland?
Poland, right.
What, the air crash?
Right.
That's an interesting one. I actually went to a conference a couple of weeks ago in the UK, and there was a 9/11 truth activist there who speaks fluent Polish, who's married to a Polish woman who happened to be in Poland when it happened. So they were monitoring all the news as it came out and saw how the news changed and the perception changed and everything. And he did this wonderful talk saying there are already clearly these huge discrepancies between the official account and, what we heard at the time. I don't know. I will try and track down that talk. I think it was filmed and put it up on the website. But it was an interesting one. Also, there is this film out on the internet, isn't there, which was made apparently, allegedly, by someone on the scene right at the start after the crash on their mobile phones. And according to the film, you can hear what sounds like Russian voices, and also shots, and people begging not to be shot and things. So I don't know if the film's a hoax or a fake, or if someone went in and shot survivors. I just don't know. But again, I mean, I doubt if we're going to get a proper inquiry into that. I think we need to beware, though, of, you know, when something terrible happens, always assuming the worst. I mean, you know, real terrorism does occur and real accidents do occur, but just keep the critical faculties open. Okay, thank you very much. That was great. Thanks.